Football fans, Gooners, welcome to the season-ending edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. I'm your host, Shotta, and as usual, I have in the co-pilot chair my expert, my friend, my influencer on Twitter, Blackburn George. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm okay.
Man, you're in your summer wear. It's good to see you looking so casual, George.
Yeah. I've been out spending money on lunch and coffee and cakes.
Yeah, that so your pension has gone up, man. You got a
I
you got you got
mean,
a cost of living allowance.
I've been spending my winter payments allowance.
Uh, guys, um, well, we are not afraid to admit it. We are two old geezers, and we give our opinions based on our experience. We definitely are not experts. But George, we want to talk about our opinion of Arsenal 2023 and reflect on and give some thoughts, because Mikel Arteta says in the future we can achieve anything. I think it's like a 5 or 6 minute YouTube video extolling what the club has achieved. But let's look back on 2023, George. You and I at the beginning, and most people did not. This is a long introduction, guys. So we did not foresee the club achieving the giddy heights of being on top of the table for 200 and something days. I, for one, got into trouble with people when we spent so much money. I said we should be aiming for at least third. And that's why on Twitter you'll see in my moniker, Ambitious Gooner. But most people are saying we'll be barely able to come from 8th to 5th this time, George. I think it was 8 or 6. I don't recall. 6. Right, 6. George, how did it 2023 pan out for you?
Well, overall, you can't complain about coming second to Manchester City. None of us saw it coming. It's still a bit beyond my comprehension as to how it came about. There were other factors came into play, like how shocking some of the other teams were that would normally be taking points off us.
Chelsea in particular, George, and Liverpool. And even Liverpool did not make the top 4. I can't believe it.
Tottenham, Liverpool. We took most of the points off all of them. We wouldn't normally do that.
Yes.
I don't expect us to do it next season. Mm-hmm. But, everybody else had the same advantage we had. We came runner-up, and all right, some of the other teams might have had bad seasons, but some other teams had good seasons, and we came above them as well. So you can only play what's in front of you, and we surprised everybody, including ourselves, and we could have and probably should have won the league at the end of the year, at the end of the day, and we didn't. Now, that's a disappointment. We have to temper that disappointment with the improvement that's marked and consistent, mostly, apart from 9 games at the end of the season.
Yes, and
then there's the cup, of course.
Yeah, well, George, we were never competitive for any of the cups, and the thing that strikes me, let's talk about it, guys. There's a narrative that's going around that is fake. The people who never thought we would be anyway competitive felt that we should be barely focused on getting top 4. They're the ones who are mostly saying, oh, we didn't. It's too much to ask of this team to hold on to the lead. What are your comments about these people? And I'm not going to call them by name, but they're all over Twitter and in the media. Mainstream media.
Well, they need an excuse, don't they? Mm-hmm. the narrative is set that, we're on the up, we're going to be better next year, and Mikel Arteta's done this marvellous job, a lot of which is very true.
Mm-hmm.
But if they say, but we collapsed horribly at the end, they're biting away at the narrative, aren't they?
Yes.
They're corroding the narrative, and they don't want to do that. So they have to come up with some reasons why. With City spending that beat us in the end. Well, they didn't outspend us in the last 9 games. Because
Yes.
transfer window was shut in January.
Yes.
They didn't make us drop points at West Ham, Liverpool, Southampton, Brighton,
Durham,
Everton. These are some of the teams. Apart from,
by the way, George, that Everton loss, I think, was the biggest shocker to me. But
oh, was it? I don't know. It was a bad one, but
there are many of them.
There were many others. We didn't compete at all up at Manchester City. It was a terrible run. We hadn't really played that well consistently. When I say consistently, even 2 or 3 games on the trot since the World Cup. But it's, at the end of the day, we came second.
Right.
And I don't think it would have mattered how we'd done. Manchester City were going to win it. Manchester City dropped some points at the end, like they dropped points yesterday and last week.
Yes, they lost.
They would never have lost those games if they'd had to win them. They just wouldn't. So we're competing with an unbelievable squad and team and manager, and we came second. My worry is that people that think that this means that we're back, that 3/4 of a season is enough to prove that we're back to being the second best team in the league. And when you think that 3/4 of a season, but we've been bad for 3/4 of Arteta's time here.
They don't want to remember that.
So which is most likely to be the norm. Recency bias comes into it, and I mean we all hope that next year we'll be competitive. I honestly don't. When I say we'll not be competitive, I think we'll be competing for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th next season. But we're not competing for 1st. We're just not. We're miles behind Manchester City.
George, let me share with you. Let me first of all get rid of this banner. But I think we're onto something. And by the way, you said this constantly. You said this that our chances of beating Manchester City the title were you didn't think they were high, even at the best of times. People you would always say that their second best team was as good as ours at one point in time. So I think you need to know that you have been consistent. But George, here is the stat: the goal difference between the two different teams, 61 versus 46. Let me try to blow this up for the audience. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm speaking to you. I call it is it just merely Erling Haaland difference, George?
Well, I don't know. All I can tell you is that even though we're that far behind, we've had a record-breaking goal-scoring season.
Yes, 88 goals.
That's off the scale for us.
We can score goals.
So it's probably the other end that we have to tighten up on, how many goals we concede. And
too much.
I don't know how we're going to do that the way we play, because we're always going to be exposed at left back or right back, whichever side that is using as a midfielder that day.
Yes.
And it's a worry that Saliba's not been fit and not signed a new contract. So I said on Twitter it was like blasphemy that if he doesn't sign a contract soon, we're going to have to sell him.
How much he has? One more year left?
Well, it is one more year left, but some people are saying they think we have an option for another year.
Okay.
Whether we do or not, obviously I'm not privy to his actual contract. And but anyway, it's getting to the stage where you have to shit or get off the pot.
Yeah, and that, I mean, we have seen the struggles we have at a left centre back, right centre back with Saliba. I see Ben White went in there. I see we're playing number 5 at right back. I don't know what has happened to the fellow from Scott Tierney. He played on the left. I mean, Tomiyasu probably will be kept. But none of those, and I call those names, none of them are people who you would allow to go in deep in the midfield and make passes to procreate the overloads, and keep and retain the ball, as you say, and not have teams pecking away at that area. You remember people pecking away at Zinchenko. I know I'm speaking long, but I do. None of these players look like they are the type of, even they'll be retained. They're no Zinchenko.
No, they're not, and they won't ever become one either. It's strange though, isn't it? Because just you go back 18 months, and people were telling you that Tierney was the best left back in the country.
And captain material.
Correct. And Tomasako was the signing of the season.
Signing of the century.
And now neither of them are good enough to play for us, according to a lot of people.
Yes.
In our system, this is such an excuse, isn't it? Every time somebody has a bad game, or Arteta can't make him play very well. It's because the system doesn't allow them to play, so we need to replace them because the system is such that it has to have a specific cog in it to make it work. And that's probably true as well.
Yes.
The system is so defined that you do have to have the right cog in the right place. A worry for me as well was the fact that there's been talk of us signing another right back. João Cancelo was mentioned, which would be nice because he could play that Shevchenko role on the other side, and allowing Ben White to move back to right centre back.
Yes.
Which made me sort of worry, thinking, well, does that mean that Saliba's going?
Yes. No, that...
Because he's not playing there if Saliba's fit.
Correct.
So,
Ben White can't... Ben, okay, I don't want to be to diss you, but yeah. Like to paraphrase a politician. I know Ben White and he's, or I know Saliba. Or I know Ben White and he's no William Saliba. Yeah, that's put it that way. You remember the politicians that say I knew John Kennedy.
yeah.
I was trying to find a way of framing it that way, George. I failed. But go ahead.
And you know JFK.
Right. I failed, George. I admit it.
but you're right. Ben White's a good player, but he's no Saliba.
Yes.
And if we're thinking of buying a right back, that means either Ben White's not going to be playing, or he is, and if he is, Saliba's not going to be staying. So that's a little bit of a worry in itself.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, they're talking about signing Declan Rice.
Wow, George.
And that'll be to replace who? Granit Xhaka?
This is I've been saving that because that's the 300 or 800 pound girl in the room. We are losing Granit Xhaka, who's I want to feature, and he was a revelation this season for many people. You and I have been singing his praises long before this, but because he played a more attacking role, scored more goals, had more assists, um, people now suddenly discover his qualities. But I have to go back to this, George. Declan Rice is no Granit Xhaka. Come on.
Well, I wouldn't like to live on the difference. He's a good player.
Yes.
He is a good player. He's a very good player.
He's a more
but
defensive.
I don't feel it. I don't feel it's certainly not an upgrade on this season's Granit Xhaka.
Yes. Here is our friend.
The thing with Granit Xhaka is he's always been this good. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't been playing in his best position. Mm-hmm. So, is Declan Rice going to replace Xhaka making runs into the box in the left channel? I don't know. Are we going to get someone else? It's going to be difficult anyway to replace him. And I honestly believe his value to the team will become apparent when he isn't playing week in, week out.
Yes, I mean he hardly missed a game. I want to welcome Seebs. Seebs, we are doing this kind of mini season wrap up here. Glad you were able to drop in. George and I are pondering the future. I don't know if you saw there's this 10 goal difference in goal difference, if you get what I mean, between us and City. George is concerned. People are automatically thinking that we can again compete for second, but we are losing Granit Xhaka. And that's where we of course we spoke about Saliba not signing and what it means for the defense, because what George was saying, to go back to the discussion, is that we are conceding more goals than considerably more than our main rival City. Seebs, what was your main concern going forward?
Yeah, so I understand that. I don't really believe that conceding goals is obviously down to one fella. It can't be, he's good, Saliba, but is he that good? I think that's more to the fact of the team as a whole and the form that happened, really. We're a pressing team, so you only have to be a couple of players that are not pressing at the right time. If the whole team's not moving up as one or something like that, or just a couple of individual mistakes. A lot of the individual mistakes have actually been not in defence, it's been in midfield, people losing the ball in bad areas. So a lot of that can be worked on in pre-season.
Your volume, your mic is deteriorating as you speak. I don't know why.
All right, is that a little bit better?
Yes, I don't know. It's breaking up as you speak. But yeah, you're saying, let me just for the audience, we are a pressing team, and your assessment is that a lot of the breakaway goals were because of mistakes in midfield in particular.
Yeah, we're giving the ball away in bad areas. Over the last couple of weeks, Odegaard, Vieira, Partey, they've all been guilty of it at different times. So, yeah, it's difficult to just say, oh, yeah, the defence is not very good. We haven't been great. We haven't been great on the wings, like the fullback areas. And like you say, there's loads of stories about we're going to get such and such a person. We're going to get such and such a person at fullback. So, yeah, it's difficult to call. It's difficult to call. But I think that we just got to a stage of the season where form-wise we were struggling, and it was the whole team that went downhill. But I mean, we went to Newcastle, played really, really well defensively as a team, and that was at a time when we were really under pressure. Everybody was saying that we were rubbish, we'd gone, you know, and everything like that. And then we pulled a performance like that out of the bag. So it's there. We can do it. We can do it without Saliba if we need to do it without Saliba. But he's a good player. He's a very, very good player. But I think it's more on the team dynamic than anything else.
George was saying, and George, you may want to respond to Seebs. I'm only going to ask a question. George is saying we are an attacking team, but when we went to Newcastle, we were less attacking. George, I mean, we can play a less attacking game, but that's not our game. They were the ones coming after us because we went up there. I think we were less attacking. We were counter-attacking, actually. But can we play that game? You talk about the system that Arteta set up. That the thought that went through my mind is we can't buy 22 players to play the system with the first and second team. And that's something you kept saying.
Well, before when we're just talking about the Newcastle game, we did play well. It was a great result. But statistically, if you hadn't seen the goals, you would have called it an even game.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't like we were dominant. They had a higher XG than us. It wasn't like we went up there and dominated the game. We went up and we got a result. We took our chances, but it was an even game. And you can't expect to play games like that and consistently win the even games. You're going to lose as many as you're going to win if it's an even game. You know, I just think I'm worried that we're fragile. A bit like Alec Higgins playing snooker. When the balls were going in, nobody could beat him. But on an off day, anybody beat him. You know, that we're capable. I mean, that performance against Brighton last week, was it Brighton?
No, I think it was Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, George.
Well, the one against
before
Brighton.
that?
Nottingham Forest was the week before, wasn't it? Well, they were both bad, but Brighton was as bad as we've played for a long time. Certainly the worst game we've played all season. And,
George, I didn't cover Nottingham Forest, but that game was horrible. I went and I saw it. It was horrible, George.
Yeah, it was a shocking game, but Brighton was worse. I mean, It was dreadful.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be throwing games like that in if we're as far along the road as people seem to think we are. We shouldn't be throwing games in like that, and that's a worry. So we'll just have to see where we go. You know, there's a real improvement. I'm just concerned that people are assuming that we will continue to improve. What if the first half of this season was the peak? What
it could be. Seebs, you guys, I have Seebs on because Seebs, especially in the Positively Arsenal blog, has always said, hey, hold on here, guys. We're not as good as you think. Seebs, you want to rehash that just for the benefit of the audience, who many people probably don't read what you say. You've always felt we weren't as good as the lead suggested, the 8-point lead suggested. And George is saying we're fragile.
Yeah, I mean, right. So there was never an 8-point lead. It was a 5-point lead with a game in hand, wasn't it? Realistically, City will win their game in hands 9 times out of 10. So it was a 5-point lead. And we hadn't played them because of the games that have been cancelled. We hadn't played them. We had to play them twice. And as it turned out, they beat us twice. So that's the point in front of us. Even without any of the other, faux pas that we had towards the end of the season. So it was always a lot closer. And I said it last season, and I said it this season. It's 38 games. You have to, like, you do it to equivalent to athletics. You have to see when the curve comes out, when you're undoing the curve, where you actually are. And, you know, we weren't that far in front. We were doing really, really well. And strangely enough, we say that we're not a counter-attacking side and all stuff like that. But our away form's been really good this year, really. And it's been the home form where we've had games that have just been absolutely ridiculous. If you look early on in the season, we went to Brentford when we were under pressure. They were playing really, really well. We beat them 3-0. Really good result.
Yes.
A little bit later on, we beat Fulham away when they were playing really, really well. So, and then later on in the season, you know, a lot of our results have been really good away from home. I would say that this season, really, our only really fantastic result at home was beating United 3-2 because they were on like a 10-game unbeaten run at the time.
Yes.
If you look at like when we were playing teams and the form they were in, the fitness of their best players and all stuff like that, you can pick out the games that we've done well, and really most of them games that we've done well in was away from home. And whether that's how we need to set up, I don't know. But people talk about, you know, Fortress Emirates and stuff like that, but it's not happened at the moment. And if you need to make a run next year, then we are going to have to put that right. We are going to have to get 3 points every week at home, without a doubt. So, yeah, definitely.
So tie this all together. How are we going to do without Granit Xhaka, who was a key player for most of the season? George, how are we going to do that? And Seebs, whoever prefers. George just said, just before you came in, Declan Rice. I'm going to show it at you, Seebs, because George had his say. How are we going to, you know, maintain that consistency without Granit Xhaka?
Yes, it's going to be difficult because he's been an absolute stalwart at the club for so long, and he just influences the team even when he hasn't got the ball. So to get that sort of play in is going to be difficult. Declan Rice is a different player anyway. Declan Rice plays more of a quarterback role, just in front of the back four. He's very good at breaking up play and all stuff like that. But he's never been really box to box like Xhaka. And I don't think, maybe in a couple of years he might have the sort of influence over a whole side. Xhaka's a player who can get the team by the balls and take them forward. The sort of other players that they've been talking about to fill that, I don't think that they have. So maybe they're thinking, right, we'll get someone in front of the back four and then we'll get someone else completely different. Because sometimes if you lose a very, very good player, you can't replace them one for one. You replace them with two players, or you make the system slightly different. And that's what we've had to do in the past when we've had players like Ian Wright with goals and stuff like that. What you do is you make sure that the midfield scored loads more goals, and so that's probably the way they're going to do it. Is they'll replace Xhaka with two slightly different players, maybe.
But you know, Seebs and George, we got rid of Ian Wright when a certain coach who had an idea of how to change up a team, and that is and to make it still effective, was Arsene Wenger. I'm not sure. We are not. Well, let me put it this way: Arteta hasn't proven that he is a coach who can adjust. I mean, he found a way to play, but am I Am I complicating things? I mean, George, you had a Twitter post which I put up. You said to sum up the season, quote, Mikel was magnificent, but the players let him down at the end. And in my opinion, this is where, when you're on a losing streak in the past 9 games, that is where you prove yourself as a coach. George, can he make the change that is necessary?
Well, that remains to be seen.
With 2 players, 2 more defensive-minded players. Don't forget. That's what Seebs is saying.
Well,
no, not
like I say,
defensive.
Go ahead.
It depends, and it remains to be seen. The omens are good.
Yeah.
He's getting better. He's improving. There's still areas where you've got to scratch your head and thinking, really? But we came second. So I think you've got to allow him a bit of grace and say, you know, at least don't get on his back until we see where we're going. I think if he's earned anything this season, which he has, it's the right to be given a chance to improve the team without us being on his back. And he's got that. He's got that in spades. The PR team has worked fucking miracles. I mean, he should be giving fucking lectures to Putin and Zelensky about PR. That fucking man is the most skilled PR merchant I've ever seen. He has the fans eating out of his hands. He really has turned it into an art. And therefore, he has time and goodwill. And they're very valuable commodities in football for a manager, time and goodwill. You know, if you ask any manager the 2 things that he wants most from a club, it would be time and the goodwill of the fans and the board. And
Yes.
I think he's earned that. I think he's cultivated it, and he's flim-flammed, flannelled, and kidded everybody into believing that he's some sort of miracle worker. But the fans have bought it, and that's a good thing. You know, it sounds as if I'm being negative about him, that he's beguiled people into the way that they're believing that he's some sort of maestro. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because it helps. And as long as he doesn't get exposed, as long as somebody doesn't pull the curtain back and he can carry on, that'll be a good thing for him and by extension for the club and the players. So it's all good.
Seebs, Arteta is no Frank Lampard. Chelsea locked him out of the training ground just prior to yesterday's match. That's to tell you somebody who's lost all credibility. No, Arteta is nothing like that. Your thoughts on him, though, because you have made some critique of his coaching, again, mostly at positively Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, after the first season and a half, it's 8th twice, there was lots of things that we were saying, you know, oh, we're not sure about that, we're not sure about this, weren't looking forward to the next season. He come 5th. That was better than I expected. He then now has come 2nd, better than we expected again, because I thought it was going to be 4th or 5th. So yeah, he's done better than expected in the last 2 seasons. So for that matter, and like George says, the PR is absolutely fantastic. But there's still little bits and pieces, like, you know, you Wolves, you're 3-0 up at half time.
Yes.
And he's not putting the youngsters on. I mean, Eddie must be thinking, why did I sign another contract? Reece Nelson. And what the trouble is with that is then all the other youngsters coming through will think the same thing. yeah, we're into the Champions League. We're not in the European games where he could have given players a chance in the past. He doesn't tend to give youngsters a chance, unless it's for a PR thing like the 16-year-old. But yeah, so there's it's still, you scratch your head and you think, Christ, what is going on? But he's come fifth and he's come second, which was much better than we expected. We're now in the Champions League. Next season will be very, very difficult.
Yes.
Liverpool and Chelsea will be much better next year. United will be much better next year. Newcastle will be better next year. City will be as good or better next year. So you've got so many sides that are going to be really, really good. I think we will be better next year, but will our advancement be enough? So we'll see. We'll see next year. But at the moment, out of the 4 seasons or 3.5 seasons he's been now, he's had 1.5 that's not particularly good. The next 2 he's done very well. But he said, the thing is, he bought himself time when he said trust the process, because if you're trusting a process, it's going to be a long bloody time. All processes take a long time. They're not short, quick fixes. So and everybody bought into that, and to a certain extent, that's what the Newcastle fans are buying into up there as well, except they've got money to back it up. But yeah, I think that we're going to have a difficult season ahead. But if he does well this season, then that's the proof of the pudding, because it's going to be a very, very difficult season, what with the Champions League football as well. So yeah, I'll eat my words. If he does well this season, then fantastic. You've got to back him all the way. I mean, I back him now, but there's still things that I shake my head about. So there you go.
Yes. I also shook my head too, Seebs, and I mean, Reese and Eddie came on. I mean, you're 3-0, 3 goes up, and it took a long time to bring them on. But hey, Arteta says, guys, in the future, and I'm going to end on this note. Let's not focus on the past. Now we focus on what's in the front. This is part of that long YouTube thing that is on the .com, the Arsenal.com. It was done before the game, and the second to last paragraph, he says, now we focus on what's in front, and if we keep moving forwards, we can achieve anything. What can we hope to achieve next year with Champions League football, my friends? I judge you because Seebs kind of alluded to it.
Well, for me, if we get top 4 again next season, I'll be happy. And qualify through into the knockout stages of the Champions League. That'll do for me. I don't think it's realistic to ask him to challenge for the title. I think, people were saying, oh, Wenger used to be out of it in January. I think we could well be out of it in January, but I think everybody else could be out. If City carry on the way they play, if they start the season anything like, everybody will be out it by January. So I don't expect him to challenge, but a challenge for me would be coming second. Well, I think we're all fighting for second place, and if we do that, we get to the top 2, 3, 4, and get to the knockout stage of the Champions League. I think that's as much as we can expect, and I think that's success. And I think he's doing his job if that's what he does.
And you, Seebs, do you think that we can make a fist of it challenge for top 4?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. If we can get top 4 again through the group stages of the Champions League, the last couple of seasons we haven't done well in the cups, so maybe getting a bit of silverware somewhere, because the League Cup, you can win the League Cup before the hard part of the Champions League and the graft in the league actually comes. So yeah, something like that would be nice. I mean, what you want to see is a good, entertaining team coming through. It's a young side, and you'd like to see like the academy players come through, you know, and good performances in most of the games. You can't ask no more than that, really. Good, entertaining football. But yeah, I'd be happy with that, definitely.
All right, guys. I think we have beaten this topic to death. I think we are not. I think we are. We don't agree with Arteta in one respect. He says we can achieve anything, but we can achieve something, Arteta. On that, we are with you. We'll see, George. I take your point that there's a bit of fragility in this team. Myself, I hope we can overcome that. And I think the fragility is concerning only, especially because Arteta doesn't seem to trust those players that's coming through. But again, the future will tell. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support throughout the season. I'm gonna sign off till sometime, sometime in the future. Let's see how this summer pans out. George,
See you later. Have a good summer. See you when we come back and we've bought João Cancelo, Declan Rice, Cancelo, whatever his name is.
Caicedo. Yes. All right, and see.
Yeah, see you later. Have a good. Well, this is the worst part of any football fan's life, isn't it? In this mid-season, but yeah, it'd be nice to come back with a few surprises, wouldn't it? A few surprises in the bag. Yeah. So,
all right.
See you later, everyone.
Bye. And thanks, audience. Thanks for your support. Oh, we are the. I wish we were the most popular pod on Arsenal Pod, but for those of you who have stuck with us through thick and thin, and the 167 subscribers, thank you very much. We appreciate it. You make it worthwhile. Thank you. Hope to see you next year. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Okay.